Oh, great. Altoona finally got the 3266. Now it's not accurate anymore to the prototype. Huh. No way, Jose. Hey everyone, it's Ravenhawk6910 reporting once again. It's mid-May 2014 and it's time for another layout blog video. I'll get started on some of the new stuff on the layout here in just a minute, but first, as you might notice, the video quality has drastically improved. That's because I just picked up a brand new camera a few days ago. The camera I'm shooting with now is a Fuji FinePix S40-2. I previously had a camera like this. If you recall, in some of my 2012 videos, there was a few that I shot that had this same kind of quality, but that same camera broke, and so I had to get rid of it, and I was stuck with my little GE job. And then I got my other video camera, which broke shortly after I got it, so this is a full-on replacement for the GE as well, although I have not gotten rid of it yet because I do still have some uses for it. However, I did decide to go ahead and bite the bullet and buy a new camera, specifically because, as most of you know, at the end of this month is going to be Streamliner Fest at the North Carolina Transportation Museum. So, with everything that's going to be there, and if you haven't been following the museum's link, some of the locomotives that have just been added recently, aside from Norfolk and Western 611, they have also added Chicago Northwestern 411, Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy 9911A, Union Pacific 949, Erie number 833, and probably the highlight of the diesel section, Nickel Plate Road, Alco, PA number 190, which is owned by Doyle McCormick out in Portland, Oregon. So, this will be that particular unit's first trip east since it worked for the Delaware and Hudson. So, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I decided I need a new camera. I need one that I know is going to work and that I can trust. So, I went on eBay, found this one for a pretty good price, $96. So, I picked it up, and it arrived on Saturday, and I've just been having some fun with it ever since. If you recall, I shot that video of my Little River Railroad 126 running with my intermodal train, just for fun. And as you can see, the video quality is drastically improved. This thing shoots HD video. It has a lot of different other features on it, but I'll go into that probably on a later video. But in the meantime, enough of the babbling about the camera. Let's move on to the new stuff on the layout. I'll start things off a little bit off of the NS foot and move on to a locomotive that I just got from my Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range ore train. This is a Kato SD40-2 mid-production, which is in Canadian National colors, but it's sublettered for the Illinois Central. This is the first Kato SD40-2 that I've ever owned, and all I can say is I am impressed. I've got a lot of SD40-2s in my fleet, and detail-wise, this one probably takes the cake for being fresh out of the box. I might do a review of this engine a little bit down the road, but as of right now, I'm just going to keep on running it. And normally I'm going to have this thing paired with my Misabi SD40-2 that I showed in my last video, but also I can also use this as pretty decent run-through power as well, unlike my Misabi unit, which looks a little bit odd among all of the NS power. Here's the IC SD40-2 with my Misabi SD45T-2, and you can see the pair really look good together. As soon as I get the ore cars in, whenever that'll be, these two are really going to look good pulling an ore train together. The one issue I have with this Kato SD40-2 is, unlike every other Kato that I've previously owned, this thing is really light. I haven't put it on a scale to weigh it yet, but compared to a few other Kato units that I've previously owned, this one is light. My Bachmann SD40-2 is heavier than this thing. I might go in and try to fix that problem later and put some weights inside the shell just to give it a little more tractive effort, but we'll see. These two units are also going to become the subject of a sound rebuild. I know I've said a lot of times that sound is just a feature that I don't really want to deal with locomotives, but I have gotten a few other engines with sound recently, and really I've just been sold on it. So eventually over time, when I do DCC upgrades to my units, they'll be getting sound upgrades as well. The Kato unit especially, because recently I found a video of someone on YouTube installing a Digitrax decoder inside of the Kato SD40-2 mid, and it looks relatively easy to do, so I might try that one out first and then move on to some other stuff. Whilst I have the 413 sitting here, just wanted to show you the only real change I've made to it is I've added a bay window to the side. And normally the Misabi units have two of these, but I only had one laying around. So eventually I'll get the other one placed on the other side, but for now this is all I've been able to do to it. Starting off on the workbench this month is NS-99294. As you may recall from a couple of previous blogs ago, I had to redo the 9294 after I had already finished custom painting it, because when I hit the clear coat on it, it cracked. So I was able to redo the whole locomotive. I still have not completely finished yet, as you can see. I still have to do the white stripes on this side and on the other side of the unit. But it is getting close to getting done. Everything decal-wise is finished on this thing. And fortunately I didn't have to redo the cab at all, since I had that off at the time of the painting. I've gotten all of the handrails painted, and I've painted the steps. Now it's just a matter of getting the striping on, getting a few extra detail parts applied, and then trying to find a powered frame for this thing, because originally I was going to use the blue box frame. However, I made the decision to upgrade this, as well as another Dash 9 that I'm working on, which you'll see in a minute, to Athearn ready-to-run frames, which have the DCC plugs on them. This will make it a little bit easier to upgrade them over time. Next two units on the workbench are a couple of special ones, and you definitely will recognize these as the Norfolk Southern Executive F units. The 4270, which is on the left there, I've had it for a long time, pretty much ever since I started HO. I got it in a starter set, but it hasn't really been detail accurate to the real 4270. And then I also had the 4271. I got it a while back, but then I had to sell it. And just the other day I was given another 4271 from a friend of mine, and this one, as you can see on the side here, that the 4271 here bears a special logo with a Native American on the side, which says Pocahontas Division. This is actually a safety award that Norfolk Southern was giving out to their employees for, I guess, a certain amount of days injury-free or accident-free. And they did these for every single division. I don't know if they did the F units, because I know down here I saw a whole set for the Piedmont Division once, which had an SD40-2 and some cars, but this one is part of the set for the Pocahontas Division. So the reason that these two units are on the workbench is because they are both getting detail upgrades, and they are also getting chassis and sound upgrades as well. These two units especially with 4270, as you can see, it doesn't even have its frame anymore. These two are going to be upgraded to the more modern Bachmann frames, which have the Soundtrax decoders on them, so that way I can operate these with sound. Now, normally you can get 4271 with sound, but since this is a safety award and I really want to operate it with the rest of my fleet, I just decided to just bite the bullet and just go with another unit. So, these two are going to be getting a couple of cab unit powered frames with sound, and then I'll later on be picking up the two booster units as well. What I'll do is pick up two of the same number and then renumber the other one, because currently Bachmann only offers the 4275. They don't offer the 4276. But once those are finished, I'll be able to have all four of the NSF units in my fleet. What I've got to do to the cab units, I've got to add the correct horns. I've got to add, which is going to be the biggest project, I'm going to have to add the head-in power generators to the back of each of these units. If you look in photos of the NSF units, they have a large fan housing sitting on the back, along with two kind of Harley-Davidson-like pipes coming out of the back, and those are for a head-in power generator which supplies power to the passenger cars. So in order to get that to be accurate, I have to install these. I might eventually go in and add the grab irons and things like that, but right now that's just not on the priority list. And before anyone asks, no, these will not get operating ditch lights. I've thought of it before. I really don't want to drill into these things, and yes, the ditch lights are currently decals, but that really doesn't bother me too much. So, they might in the future, but right now I'm not going to worry about it. Finally, the last item on the workbench that I want to show you is this British Columbia Railway C44-9W. This is an Athearn blue box shell that I came across recently, and as you recall from last month, I talked about wanting to do a British Columbia Railway C44-9WL with the cab from Coslow. Well, I finally came across one, and I'm going to do that. And I'm in the process of doing that right now with this unit. What I'm having to do is completely remove the old cab and do a lot of detail changes to get this thing correct. In fact, this is probably going to be one of the biggest detail changes that I've ever done on a locomotive, aside from redoing the cab on the 92-94. One of the things I've had to do, as you can see, the original cab is completely gone. It's just gone. One thing I did have to do though, and I'll change the camera angle here so you can see, the first things I had to do to get this thing accurate to the BC Rail units is, first of all, I had to remove the original cab. The cab that comes with this is just the standard two-piece windshield like on any other Athearn -9. However, when I went to remove the cab, I noticed that this section towards the bottom of the frame actually came attached to the battery boxes. As you can see right here, this little lip that runs along the bottom of the frame is actually one whole piece along with the battery boxes. So when you took the original cab off, this whole piece actually came with it along with the bottom of the frame sill. So what you were left with was a huge ugly gap along the bottom of the frame, and it wasn't even, and it didn't look good. It was nasty. So what I ended up doing was I glued the cab on at this point and then cut the whole cab off using a Dremel to get just the battery boxes on the cab. Then what I'll do when I get the Coslow cab is I'll cut the battery boxes off of it and make shims so that it sits appropriately, and then I'll worry about getting everything lined up. But in order to keep the original frame sill, that's what I had to do. Unlike my other -9, the 92-94, which is an earlier version, the cab for that came off completely and the frame was not connected to the battery boxes in any way, shape, or form. However, that's what I had to do to this unit, and small sacrifice, but it should be easier to do and install the Coslow cab once this is complete. The next pieces that I had to cut off was the air conditioner and then a little box which was right behind the cab. You can see where the little cut marks are right in this area here. This is where that box was. that I had to cut off. The air conditioner just pulled off right away. However, there was 2 studs that held the thing in place right here. So again, I just clipped those off, sanded them down as best as I could, and then painted over it. There's some silver paint right here and some white right up here, and then a little bit of red, although that's not very straight, but I can go back in and fix that if I need to. Because on the British Columbia units, they don't have the air conditioner. In fact, the Canadian Dash 9s do not have these, because with it being a mostly winter weather and colder weather that they run through, there's no need for an air conditioner on the side of the unit. The next detail change I had to do was I had to remove the original rear headlight and replace that with a Canadian style light. For those of you that don't know, the Canadian lights on most units up until about the mid-2000s had single bulb rear lights on the back. So what I had to do was cut out the original light using a hobby knife. Then what I did is took a thin piece of styrene and placed that over the hole, and then took a Details West EMD ditch light and ground it down till it was just a smooth round thing, and glued that onto the styrene. So it was a little gnarly at first, but I was able to clean it up, and I think it came out pretty good. So this was my first time trying to do anything like this. The last major detail change that I have to do is I have to remove the original anti-climbers on both ends and replace them with the Canadian style anti-climbers. They're completely different from the stock ones. So what I did was, while I was cutting off the cab, I went ahead and cut off the original anti-climbers on both ends, and I'll be replacing those with the kit that you can get from Coslow as well. So with that being said, that's all the major changes that I've had to do to this Dash 9. And also you'll notice that this thing's riding on 92-94's old frame. That will not be there when the engine is finished. Like the 92-94, I will be upgrading this engine with an Atherin ready-to-run frame, which will have the silver paint on the trucks and the fuel tank, and will also have the DCC plug as well for easy upgrading later on. But I'm really excited to try to tackle something like this. This is definitely a major build process. But fortunately, since I was able to find the BC unit already done, the only thing I'll really have to do is paint the cab. But, you know, there'll still be some painting to do here and there. But I'm really looking forward to having this done. I'm going to try to get the cab in probably next month, depending on money. And once it comes in, I will definitely let you know, and I'll be keeping you guys up to date with this unit and everything else that you see on here as well. Moving back over to the layout, I've got 3 other items that I'm working on right now. In addition to the F units, I've decided to also start working on some of the Norfolk Southern business cars. The 3 cars that you see here represent the Iowa, the Indiana, and the New Jersey. The Iowa being on the far left, Indiana in the center, and New Jersey on the right. The Iowa and the New Jersey are both former Connecticut Department of Transportation cars which were rebuilt for the steam excursion program, and the Indiana is a former Norfolk and Western car which has been converted into a 3-bedroom sleeping car. All of these cars are made by River Rossi. They're just old run cars, and I've completely redone some of them. I'm having to redo the window arrangements on pretty much all of them to get them correct. As you can see on the Indiana, there's only 3 windows on this one side for each one of the bedrooms, and then it doesn't have a door or a vestibule door or window at all. So I'm going to have to, as you can see, I've completely sanded that whole area down on both sides, and I've also filled in the windows with styrene and modeling cement. So that's getting close to getting done. The Iowa and the New Jersey are very close to the paint booth. I've already painted the underframes black, and I've already painted the roofs black. I need to find a suitable paint for Tuscan red, and once I find that, I'll be able to run these through the paint booth and get them into service. The only thing that all of these cars are going to need, they're going to need knuckle couplers. I'm going to put body mount couplers on these instead of just having the old horn hook style couplers. I've already cut all of those off. I may also, with these cars, cut off the original vestibules and install operating ones, but we'll just have to see. Also, another thing that I'm going to have to fix on the Iowa and the New Jersey, this little bit of skirting right here along the back of the cars, I'm going to have to completely cut off up to about a scale foot maybe, because the real ones don't have these. So as far as the windows and stuff, these are correct here, and all the window arrangements are fine. These two cars are actually identical to each other. So other than that, and removing the skirting and installing the couplers, these cars are almost ready for the paint booth. And I will be reinstalling the car interiors as well. I don't have any figures to put in them right now, but I can do that at a later date probably. But once I do that, this will give me 4 NS Business cars. I've already got the Delaware Superdome, which you can get from Bachmann. But I really didn't want to get any of the other Bachmann cars because they're just basically generic observation cars with the paint schemes just slapped on the side. So I really wanted to go into the full accuracy as I could, and that meant custom building. And these cars have just been out of service for a long time because I really haven't had any way to convert them to knuckle couplers. So I'm actually going to have a friend do that for me. But once these get in service, and then hopefully when I get the F units finished, whenever that'll be, these cars will look pretty good, and I'll have myself a pretty decent size office car train. One last car I'm going to show you here before I let you guys go is another Rivarossi passenger car. This is a dome car that came with the set that the Iowa, the Indiana, and the New Jersey were in. These were all in Norfolk and Western colors. This one is going to get a little bit different treatment. This one's going to be put in Southern Railway colors. This is going to represent one of the ex-Wabash dome cars that the Norfolk and Western acquired and then leased, I believe, to the Southern. Or maybe they bought them outright, I'm not quite sure. But anyways, this is one of the cars that was used both on the Southern Crescent and in the Steam Excursion program. So it will be in the Southern Railway Pullman green and black, and have the gold Southern Railway letters and numbers on the side. So I just started this, I got the primer on it, and I need to get the paint for it. So this one will be a little easier because I don't have to paint the underbody like I did with the other cars. But also I will have to convert it to knuckle couplers as well. But it will be pretty cool when I get it done. You have something nice to pull with the 4501. And so with that, guys, that takes care of pretty much everything that's happened this month. I'm posting the blog video a little early this month because I'm not really quite sure what's going to be going on in the next few weeks, and I'm really getting ramped up for Streamliner Fest. As I said before, the GE camera I have not gotten rid of because I'm probably going to use that one for video at the event, well, as I'm going to use this one for still photography. I might do a few videos with this, but we'll just have to see. So that'll probably be the last time I use that particular camera for video. But this gets everything up to about the second week in May. And if any of you guys are going to be at Streamliner Fest, send me a private message and see if we can meet up. I'd like to meet some of you guys. So, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching as always. And if you like what you see, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And hopefully you can't wait for the next blog video. Until then, this is Ravenhawk6910 signing off.